panic sets in. Ballot committee orders total video wipeout and silences our coverage. As the political climate in Canada heats up ahead of the snap federal election on April 28, 2025, tensions are rising within various factions. The Longest Ballot Committee, led by Kieran, has sparked controversy with its practice of signing up over 200 candidates, resulting in excessively long ballots. This approach complicates the voting process and raises concerns about accessibility, particularly for seniors and individuals with disabilities who may struggle with these lengthy ballots. The potential disenfranchisement of these vulnerable groups is a critical issue. While the committee argues that this method democratizes the electoral process by encouraging broader participation, critics contend that it creates unnecessary barriers, possibly leading to lower voter turnout. This irony highlights a fundamental democratic concern. How can one claim to enhance democracy while implementing practices that may hinder the very individuals they aim to represent? Kieran's response to criticism has been troubling. Instead of engaging constructively, he demanded the removal of all videos discussing the committee, a public apology, and a halt to future coverage, requests made with less than 48 hours' notice. This has been widely criticized as unreasonable and indicative of a reluctance to confront legitimate inquiries. Such actions suggest a desire to suppress discussion rather than foster transparency and accountability, raising serious questions about the committee's commitment to democratic principles. Adding to this irony, Kieran has a history of challenging election regulations himself, having successfully argued against the $1,000 election deposit requirement in court. This background makes his current stance even more perplexing. How can someone who fought for their own electoral rights show indifference toward the rights of voters? This contradiction highlights a disturbing trend among political figures who may prioritize their interests over the democratic process. It's a troubling reminder that while some fight for their rights, they may simultaneously disregard the rights of others, especially those who are less able to navigate the complexities of the electoral system. The program that has brought these issues to light presented evidence sourced from the Longest Ballot Committee's own social media platforms, illustrating the committee's internal communications and public statements. The hosts highlighted images of committee members posing with stacks of nomination signatures and videos where leaders openly discuss the need for more candidates while already having secured the necessary signatures. This raises critical questions about the committee's integrity and motivations, prompting widespread calls for a thorough investigation by Elections Canada to ensure that electoral regulations are being followed. The transparency of such organizations is essential for maintaining public trust, and the apparent contradictions in their messaging only exacerbate skepticism. Following the initial takedown request, Kieran's leadership sent multiple reminders before the Monday deadline, demonstrating a persistent effort to silence critical voices. This behavior could be interpreted as an attempt to intimidate those who dare to question their practices, creating an environment where dissenting opinions are unwelcome. In response, legal counsel for the coverage team reviewed the content, concluding that it was fair comment on a matter of public interest. Such a determination underscores the importance of robust dialogue in democratic processes, where scrutiny is not only expected but necessary to uphold the integrity of elections. As the hosts emphasized, elections are inherently public affairs, and anyone entering the political arena must be prepared for greater scrutiny. They maintained a clear distinction between fact and opinion in their reporting, advocating for official investigations when warranted. This commitment to transparency and accountability is crucial in a democratic society, where voters must trust that their voices are being heard and represented fairly. The notion that political figures can demand silence on issues of public concern runs counter to the principles of a healthy democracy, where open discourse is vital for informed decision-making. Interestingly, after the coverage aired, some content from the Longest Ballot Committee mysteriously vanished from public view. This disappearance has prompted further speculation and suspicion regarding the committee's motives and integrity. If their practices are above board, why would they choose to remove evidence of their activities? Such actions only serve to fuel public skepticism and raise doubts about their commitment to transparency. In a democracy, maintaining open channels of communication is essential for preserving public trust, and attempts to erase information can only lead to further distrust among voters. Kieran's insistence on halting any implications of criminality reflects a deeper issue within the committee's approach to criticism. The hosts have firmly rejected claims of malice, reiterating that their intent is to protect voters' rights. The evidence they referenced came from publicly accessible sources, underscoring their argument that scrutiny is not only necessary but beneficial for the health of democracy. By shining a light on questionable practices, they believe that they are serving the public interest, ensuring that all candidates and parties are held accountable for their actions. For the coverage team, the central issue remains the protection of the right to vote. When organized efforts create barriers for electors, whether intentional or not, those actions warrant examination and exposure. Highlighting these practices is not merely allowable, it is essential for safeguarding democracy and ensuring that all voters can participate freely and fairly in the electoral process. The right to vote should never be compromised by unnecessary obstacles, and it is the responsibility of the media and concerned citizens to advocate for transparency and accountability. As the political atmosphere heats up ahead of the snap election, the actions of groups like the Longest Ballot Committee will be subject to increased scrutiny. The demand for a total video wipeout and silencing of coverage raises significant questions about accountability and transparency in Canadian politics. The public deserves clarity regarding the practices of those who seek to influence electoral outcomes. As the election approaches, the call for a fair and accessible voting process is more pressing than ever, and it is incumbent upon all stakeholders to ensure that the electoral system remains just and equitable for all. Ultimately, the events surrounding the Longest Ballot Committee serve as a poignant reminder of the importance of transparency and accountability in the electoral process. Voter rights must be protected at all costs, and any actions that threaten to undermine those rights should be met with rigorous examination and public discourse. In a democracy, the voices of the electorate must always be heard, and efforts to silence dissenting opinions can only harm the democratic process. As Canadians prepare for the upcoming election, the focus must remain on ensuring that every eligible voter can participate fully and freely, safeguarding the foundational principles of democracy.